I don't know how long we were imprisoned, but when the bag came off my head, we were in a dungeon. A literal dungeon. That didn't surprise me one bit. Houses with dungeons were strangely common around here. There was one in Skysville that also had a tower. We used to go there for parties in high school. Nah, I wasn't worried about the dungeon. What I worried about was the tiny purple face staring at me. This was a face I'd seen on the TV, denouncing the insurgents and praising the local military, even as they refused to investigate people disappearing. "Oh look, he's awake," Baron Stamantius said. "How'd you like your accommodations? Too dank? Dark? Uncomfortable? Good." I was a little surprised to find these old houses with dungeons. Knew we had to use them. "Yeah, they're common around here." "Are they?" The Baron slugged me in the stomach. It wasn't a hard punch. It wasn't soft either. I was just so winded and already hurt that I barely registered it. "Let's talk about my little operation. You fucked things up for me, but I'm not too angry. In fact, you've helped me clean house. You have been a naughty little shit, of course, so you and your pets will need to be punished. But let me tell you a story first." It was then that I noticed the cats sitting in chairs next to mine, bags over their heads. "Once upon a time," yes, that's how human stories start. "Once upon a time," the Baron chuckled. "I like that. Once upon a time, there lived a little interior agent. His name was Chris Villain. Villain was great at his job. He was a rising star of the interior. Everything was great until one day a noblewoman from the Stamantios family set him up to take the fall for something she did. When the rest of the interior found out what he did, little Villain was killed. Or so they thought." "Get to the point," I growled. "Fuck you." Villain survived and hid out on the interior for a decade or so, plying his trade for anybody who needed a spy. Eventually he set up a plan. Once he got enough money, he picked up a new face, new identity, and found the woman he'd been set up by. "Get to the point," I snapped. "Shut it!" The Baron looked at one of his guards, and she slapped some duct tape over my mouth. Where was I? Ah yes, right. Villain seduced her, only now he was Tetris de Ville. Right. Eventually he married her, making his way into her inner circle. Now Tetris, well, he was great managing large amounts of money. He took more and more control over her finances till he was an integral part of her operation. And now he had to wait for the perfect opportunity. I rolled my eyes. The liberation of Earth was unexpected, but it turned out to be the perfect chance. Tetris was overjoyed to hear about the males of this planet. Strong, numerous, able to go for long periods, everything that sure males were not. Under the guise of research to find what made them like this, he slowly leaked whispers of torture and horrible experiments, knowing that his not-so-beloved, hated wife would be blamed. God, was he seriously monologuing like a Saturday morning cartoon villain? Kill me, please. It worked wonderfully, but by then Tetris was in too deep. He had to see it through to the end, the Baron finished. So here we are. The guard peeled the tape off my face. Sorry, what's the point of this? You set up purity control to get your wife killed? Precisely. And now you know who you've been fucking with. I'm not just a corrupt businessman turned politician. I'm the corrupt businessman turned politician who spent 50 years building a literal conspiracy to get my wife killed for it. That's kind of fucked up. I couldn't do much tied to a chair. Oh well. And now the question remains, what to do with a little shit like you? The Baron looked around theatrically. I could turn you over to the babes of Purity Control, but we no longer need bodies. And, well, we can't exactly torture you either. You've suffered things nobody should. Instead, I think you'll like what we have in store. He nodded, and two other guards wheeled in a TV on a cart, like what you would see in school as a kid. Stop me if you've heard this one, the Baron continued. A loving mother, right? Husband's dead, so she does everything she can for her baby boy. Unfortunately, she does some unsavory things, gets in trouble with the law. When she gets out of the pokey, her old contacts and other circumstances drag her back into the mess. She does some seriously fucked up things, right? And she attracts the ire of her local politicians. Well, you'll see for yourself. The Baron turned on the TV to reveal a helmet cam video of some Marines raiding a house. Hold on. That was Mum's house. No, I breathed. No. Shut up. This is the good part. Mum was doing that thing where she talked down the Marines sent after her, when an interior agent barged in and gunned her down. I've seen her do it a couple of times with the cops back when she did something nasty. No! I yelled. You killed her, you motherfucker. Let me out, I'll cut your nuts off. Soon as the anger was there, it was gone again, replaced by despair and shock. I collapsed into tears. Mum. You like that? There's more. The Baron switched out the DVDs. You're gonna love this one. It's the story of a local lawman turned criminal. This time, Uncle Lyle got in his car. Nothing happened for a moment. Then the sedan erupted in flames. Through my tears, I could see Uncle Lyle stagger out engulfed in flames and fall to the ground. Want to know the best part? Your baby cousin's gonna grow up orphaned because of you. Oh, if only Miss Straver were still shipping boys all over the Imperium, I'd turn that little cutie over right away. He switched out the DVDs again. But my favourite is this one. A beloved uncle set you down this path. I think it'll leave you on the edge of your seat. Lots of action. Uncle Bill ran through the woods. He'd been off the grid for weeks now. That'd been more than enough time to find the local CIA safe house in the Appalachian forests. He supplemented that with his own defences. Traps, mines, cameras everywhere, motion sensors. And now that was paying off, it seemed. He'd woken up this morning to his network of sensors lighting up like a Christmas tree. Sure Marines were coming in from every direction. He grabbed his old boiler suit, ghillie, a bunch of guns and other gadgets, and disappeared into the woods. As he navigated the vegetation, he stopped occasionally to detonate a mine or take a pot shot. He soon hunkered down in a little blind he'd set up. From the beeping of the cameras, he could see that a bunch were coming up the western ridge. Perfect. Uncle Bill pulled his detonator. He squeezed it. In the distance, a mile-long swath of trees disappeared in bright orange flames, taking most of the Marines on that side with it. Several staggered forwards, the uniforms melting to their bodies as they fell to the forest floor. A moment later, he heard the boom. He had to move now. They would know he was there. He hefted an ancient M82 and slunk through the forest. Maybe he was getting too old for this shit. Everything hurt, and he was out of breath. Hopefully the claymores would thin them out a little. He positioned the Barrett in the crook of a Y-shaped tree and fired, burning a hole big enough for his fist through 2 shill. He picked up the rifle and ran to his next position. And again, and again. Uncle Bill squeezed the detonator again, collapsing the northern ridge on more of the Shilvanti. He couldn't keep going forever, he was getting tired. Eventually, he abandoned the Barrett and picked up a crossbow he'd stashed in a hollow tree. Explosive bolts, of course. He squeezed the trigger, catching a shill in the eye. She screamed for a moment, then her head vanished in a blue cloud. Same for her buddy. After a while, they were getting too close for a crossbow. It was shotgun time. He hefted an old USAS-12 and let her rip. Full auto, of course. He shattered bones with that thing, blew off limbs as he changed position again and again and again. Even as Uncle Bill outran them, he could see mines going off in his cameras and traps dismembering his attackers. He winced a little as a nail-studded branch swung out, catching a shill in the legs. Even across the mountain he could hear her screaming. As the afternoon wore on, Uncle Bill made his way down the mountain. He didn't see any of the shill, but, well, he knew this was where they wanted him. If he had to die, he was glad he made them work for it at least. Well played, Baron, he said, as the drone fired. Shilvanti drones didn't use missiles, but the laser got the job done.